Hello friends. Now in the previous session, we have discussed about the Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Act 1970. Now in this session, with reference to that act only, we are going to discuss the Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Central Rules 1971. So we are going to discuss in brief regarding this rule because we have already discussed the Contract Labor Act 1970 in the details in the previous sessions. So in exercise of the power conferred by section 35, because we have just now discussed that section 35 of the Contract Labor Act 1970 is power to make rules, so that appropriate government can make the rules, and with reference to that only, this appropriate government has made the rules in 1971. So chapter 1 is related to the rules like short title and commencement. That this rule is maybe called as Contract Labor Central Rules 1971, and it is come into force after the publication of this official gazette. Then there are various definitions: Act, appellate officer, board, chairman, committee, form, and sections. So we have already discussed about this Act, appellate officer, board, chairman, committee, and now we will see the form in these rules because we haven't discussed anything regarding the form in the Act. Then chapter 2 is related to the central board. So this is the part which is covered under the Act also. So there the central board means that is of the central government. So chairman should be appointed by the central government. Chief Labor Commissioner is the ex officio, and the other members from the central government to be appointed for the members. Then 2 persons representing the railways, 5 persons representing the employers in coal mines, 2 persons from the other mines, and 7 persons, then 2 persons under that, under 7, 2 representing the railways again, 2 representing the other mines, and the other members may be from other bodies. So all these members should be authorized or approved by the central government. So this is about the central board committee. Then different aspects like terms of offices. So we all know that chairman is going to guide regarding these offices, the infrastructure, the functions, and the duties regarding this central state board. Then resignations, if any member wants to resign that committee, then if it is related to the valid reasons, then chairman is going to approve that resignation, and then again he has to appoint a substituted member on that position. Then cessations of the membership. So it is provided that the central government may, if it is satisfied that such member was prevented by sufficient cause from attending 3 consecutive meetings of the board, direct such that cessation shall not take place, and on such directions being made, such member shall continue to be a member. So if he has already attended 3 consecutive meetings, then he has to continue as a member. Then disqualification for membership. So if any member is appointed as a member of that central board, and if anyone finds or the chairman is find that he is disqualified on the basis of some of the parameters, like if he is of unsound mind and stands so declared by a competent court, or if he is an undischarged insolvent, or if he has been or is convicted of an offense which in opinion of the central government involves moral turpitude. So on the basis of these points, the disqualification of membership can be done. Then removal from the membership. So again, the valid reason should be there to remove from this membership. Then 9th is related to the vacancy. So after the removal, after the death, or due to some reasons, if there is vacancy is created, then that can be decided by the central government. Then staff under this central government can be appointed with the help of this chairman and other members. So they can appoint the different staffs for different purposes, like the secretary. So we have to define what exactly secretary is going to do. So secretary shall assist the chairman in convening the meetings of the board. Then may attend the meetings but shall not be entitled to vote at such meetings. Shall keep a record of the minutes of such minutes and shall take necessary measures to carry out the decisions taken at the meeting of the board. So various functions or the duties of this secretary is there, and which is covered under the rule number 10. Then rule number 11 is related to the allowances of members. So whatever the allowances like traveling allowance or some other allowances are eligible, so they have to pay that allowances for that members. Then 12 is related to the disposal of business. So every question which the board is required to take into consideration shall be considered at meeting, or if the chairman so directs, by sending the necessary papers to every member for this opinion, and then they have to dispose of in accordance with the decision of the majority. So depending on the member's opinion, they can dispose of that business, provided that in case of equality of votes, chairman shall have a second or a casting vote. Then 13 is related to the meetings. So board shall meet at such place and times as may be specified by the chairman again. 14 is related to the notice of meeting and list of businesses. So notices should be given to all the members regarding the details of that meetings. Then quorum, no business shall be transacted at any meetings unless at least 5 members are present. So less than 5 members are there, then that meeting should not be conducted. Then 16 is related to the committees of the board. The board may constitute such committees for different purposes as may think fit by the board. So while constituting the committee, the board may nominate one of its members to be chairman of that committee. The committee shall meet at such times and places as the chairman said, and there are different provisions that can be discussed and that can be modified in that committee meeting. Then chapter 3 is related to the registration and license. So we already discussed about this under the Contract Labor Act. So rule number 17 is related to the manner of making applications for registration of establishment. So in the act itself, they have mentioned that you have to apply for this registration. How to apply, what exactly the process, that is given under this 17. Then 18 is related to the grant of certificate of registration. So after applying for the certificate, after paying that said fees under this rule, then if all the things are okay, then they can grant the certificate of registration. So provide that detailing, that name and address of the establishment, maximum number of workmen to be employed as contract labor, type of business, trade, industry, manufacture or occupation. Such other particulars may be relevant and should be added into that certificate. Then 19 is related to the circumstances in which application for registration may be rejected. So that depends on the officer's view and depends on the information given by that contractor. If something is wrong or incorrect data is provided or anything malpractices were there, then they can reject the application. 20 rule is related to the amendment of certificate of registration. So if that state board, central board, or appropriate government thinks that there should be some changes or the amendment of that certification, then they are going to do that modifications in that certificate. 21 is related to the application for a license. So there is a particular format, that is application by contractor, that is to be made under form 4. So we will see what exactly the form 4 is. Then every application for grant of license shall be accompanied by certificate by the principal employer in form 5. So this is form 4 and this is form 5. So various forms are there under these rules for particular purposes. And this is every applications referred shall also be accompanied by the demand draft showing these all data. That is deposit of the security at the rate, then payment of the fees, then applicant is a minor or is of unsound mind, stands so declared by the competent, or undischarged insolvent. So these are the points which are useful for the rejection of that contractor license, and other things are also included. 23 is refusal to grant license. So we already discussed about these rejections or the refusal to grant the license. Security before a license is issued, an amount calculated at the rate of these rupees for each of the workmen to be employed as contract labor. So we have to deposit all these amount as a security. So in case if anything is happen with that contract labor, then this security amount can be distributed among the workers as a compensation. Then 25 is related to the forms and terms and conditions of license. So every license granted under subsection 1 and section 12 in the form 6. Every license granted under sub rule 1 renewed under rule 29 shall be subjected to the following conditions. Namely, the license shall be non-transferable. The number of workmen employed as contract labor in the establishment shall not on any day exceeds the maximum number specified in the license, save as provided in these rules, the fees paid for the grant or as the case may be for renewal of the license. So that shall not be refundable. So there are various points with reference to these rules. Then rule number 26 is related to the fees. So it is of 1971. So with reference to this 1971, these fees are there. So fees to be paid for the grant of certificate of registration under section 7 shall be as follows. Like if the number of workmen proposed to the employed on contract on any day is 20, then only rupees 60. Then 20 to 50, 150, 50 to 100, 300, 100 to 200, rupees 600. Workers 200 to 400, 1200 rupees. Exceeds 400, then 1500. And likewise, the fees to be paid for the grant of license under section 12 shall be paid if the number of workmen employed by the contractor are like this. So in the similar way, for 20, for 50, for 100, for 200, 400, and 400 plus, the fees is applicable. 27 is related to the validity of the license. So every license granted under this rule number 25 or renewed under rule 29 shall remain in force for 12 months. So this license is valid for 1 year with reference to rule 25, and if it is renewed, then again with reference to 29, it is valid for 12 months. Rule 28 is related to the amendment of the license. So there may be some changes, amendments by the central or state government officers or the appropriate government, and that should be reflected in the certificate as well as in the license. 29 is related to the renewal of license. We have already discussed rule number 29 for the renewal purpose, and we have to apply with reference to form number 7. Then we can go for the renewal purpose. Then 30 is related to the issue of duplicate certificate of registration or license. So in case if that certificate or license is misplaced by that licensee, then they can opt for the duplicate with ₹5. So this fees is with reference to 1971. Rule number 31 is related to the refund of security. So if everything is okay and they want to dissolve now, then they can ask for the refund of that security amount. Then 32 is related to the grant of temporary certificate of registration and license. If due to some reasons, if the late response is there from the licensee officer or the officer of who is giving the certificate, or with some other reasons, they can, the licensee contractor or the certificate principal employer can ask for the temporary certificate of that registration and license. So again, these fees should be paid to that government with reference to the number of workers or the contract laborers. Then chapter 4 is related to the appeals and procedures. So if the certificate or the license is rejected, suspended, cancelled, then the licensee can go for the appeal within a particular time period, and they can ask for the appropriate officer. So these are the different provisions for this appealing. And for that purpose, we have to pay the fees also. Then chapter 5 is related to the welfare and health of contract labor. So what exactly we have discussed in the Contract Labor Act, that these things are elaborated in this rule number 41. So it is related to the restrooms. So in the Contract Labor Act, they have clearly mentioned that restrooms are required if we have to stay at that place. And there may be some provisions like ventilations, the requirement of illuminations, then drinking water facilities, latrines or urinal facility, then washing facilities, etc. should be given to have the comfortable rest at that room. So these are the different requirements at the restrooms which are elaborated in the rule number 41. Related to the canteens, again, 1 or 2 canteens depending on the number of workers that should be established by the principal employer or that licensee at that particular site, and they have to maintain the hygiene, they have to maintain the cleanliness, they have to provide the drinking water facility as per the norms, and all these things should be maintained. That is given under 42. Then 44 is related to the dining. So dining shall be accommodated at a time, at least 30% of the contract labor working at a time. So if 100 workers are there, so at least 30 workers can accommodate this dining hall. So that should be the provisions. Some washing facilities, some sufficient tablets, stools, chairs, benches also to be provided in that dining hall. Then 45 is related to the maintaining the sufficient utensils, crockery, then cutlery, furnitures, and other equipment necessary for effective running of this canteen. So all these things are related to the canteens, providing the meal facility in the dining hall, etc. Then again, related to the cleanliness, it is given. Then 46 is related to the foodstuffs and other items to be served. shall be conformity with the normal habits of the contract labor. So what exactly the contract labor required in the breakfast, in the lunch or the dinner, that should be studied first. So 47 is related to the charges of the foodstuff. So beverages and any other items served in the canteen shall be based on no profit, no loss base. Then 48 related to the in arriving the pieces of food strips and other articles served in the canteen, the following items shall not be taken into consideration as expenditures, like the rent for the land and building, the depreciation and maintenance charges, cost of purchase, repairs and replacement, then the water charges and other charges, interest on the amount spent on the provisions of maintenance of furniture and equipments. Then books of accounts and registers and other documents should be maintained. Accounts pertaining to the canteen shall be audited once every 12 months. Then Chief Labor Commissioner may approve the other persons to audit the accounts also. So these are the various provisions and detailed guidelines are given under this Contract Labor Rule 1971 related to the canteens. If you observe, if you recall the provisions related to canteen in the Contract Labor Act. So in the Contract Labor Act, they have given only the guidelines. Now in the rules, they have elaborated these guidelines. Then 51 rule is related to latrines and urinals. So in the Contract Labor Act itself, they have mentioned only they have to provide. But in this again, they have gone in the details. Where the females are employed, there shall be at least one latrine for every 25 females. Where males are employed, there shall be at least one latrine for every 25 males. Provided that where the number of males or females exceed 100, it should be sufficient if there is one latrine for every 25 males or the females, as the case may be, up to first 100 and one for every 50 thereafter. So depending on the number, they have to provide these latrine and urinals. So all the details again related to these latrines and urinals, that they should write this for men only, for women only titles on the door itself to define exactly who is going to utilize these latrine and urinal facilities. In a similar way, they have given the details. And 57 is related to the washing facility. So separate and adequate screening facility shall be provided for the use of male and female workers. Such facilities shall be conveniently accessible and shall be kept in clean and hygienic conditions. So that is the washing facility. And 58 is related to the first aid facilities. So we have already mentioned in that Contract Labor Act again. Now here the details are: each first aid box shall contain 6 small sterilized dressings, 3 medium size sterilized dressings, 3 large size sterilized dressings, 3 large sterilized burn dressings, then 1 bottle containing 2% alcohol solution of iodine, 1 bottle containing salvotyl having the dose and the mode of administration indicated on the label, 1 snake bite lancet, 1 bottle of potassium permanganate crystals, 1 pair scissor, 1 copy of the first aid leaflet issued by the DG Fastly, a bottle tablets, that is 100 tablets of aspirin, an ointment for burns, a bottle of suitable surgical antiseptic solutions. So all the details are given. For establishment in which number of contract labor exceeds 50, then the guidelines are different one. So again, the contents are same, but the number is different. So you can observe that. Nothing except the prescribed content shall be kept in the first aid box. That is the general guideline. But still, in the 2021 also, some of the workers are not following this guideline. Then chapter 6 is related to the wages. So we have already discussed about these wages. Some wages maybe on daily basis, maybe weekly basis or monthly basis. So no wage period shall exceed 1 month. That is the basic criteria. And we have to pay all these wages within the time. All wages shall be paid in current coin or currency or in both. So central government, appropriate officers and appropriate state government should take care about all these wages or the payments. So without any complaints, they have to pay all these wages to the contract labor. Chapter 7 is related to the registers and records and collections of statistics. So whatever you have observed, inspected, whatever the guidelines are given for various aspects, all the things should be registered and recorded in the pages as well as in the computers nowadays, so they can easily communicated, easily shared with the officer wherever it is required. Then register of persons employed, employment card, service certificates, muster rolls, wages register, deduction register and overtime registers. So these are the requirements from 1971. You can understand the importance of this act. And nowadays also we are following all these things, but maybe in a different media or in different way. So this is muster roll, register of wages, register of deductions, register of overtime, register of fines, register of advances, wage slips. All these things should be included in these rules. So there are different guidelines are given related to that only, and different forms are also given wherever it is required. So you can understand this is also form 25. So every principal employer of registered establishment shall send annually a return. So this is annual return in terms of form 25, which is given under rule number 82. Then 83 is related to the board, committee, chief labor commissioner or the inspector authority, that all have powers to call for any information or statistics. And that is why we have to collect all this statistical data or the data which is required by the government or government representatives. So this is all about the contract labor rule 1971. So these are the different rules, and now these are the different forms. So we will just go through all these forms, what exactly the forms are. So form 1 is related to the application for registration of establishment employing contract labor. So with reference to rule number 17, we have to fill this form and we have to fill all these details with principal employer seal and stamp office of the registration officer. Then this is form 2 related to the certificate of registration with reference to rule number 18. Then form 3 is related to the registration of establishment. Then form 4 is related to the application for license. Form 5 is related to the form of certificate by principal employer. Form 5A is related to the application for adjustment of security deposit. Form 6 is related to the Government of India Office of Licensing Officers, that is for license. Then it is for renewal. Then annexion is also there. Then this is form 6A related to the notice of commencement, completion of contract worker. Form 6B is related to the notice of commencement, completion of contract work. Form 7 is related to the application for renewal offenses, licenses. Form 8 is related to the application for temporary registration of establishments employing contract labor. Form 9 is related to the temporary certificate registration. Form 10 is related to the application for temporary license. So we have discussed all these things in the rule itself, and now I just shown you the required form number to that particular format or the rule. So this is form 11, Office of the Licensing Officer. Form 12 is related to the Register of Contractors. Form 13 is related to the Register of Workmen employed by contractor. Form 14 is related to the employment card. Form 15 is related to the service certificate. Form 16 is related to the muster roll. Then it is Register of Wages. It is form for Register of Wages, come muster roll. It is wage slip. Register of Deductions for damage or loss. It is Register of Fines. It is Register of Advances. Register of Overtime. Then return to be sent by the contractor to the license officer. It is annual return. Annexure form. This is another annexure A. So these are the different forms. Then standards of construction and maintenance of crèches are given separately. What exactly the location is, what are the building guidelines, how to give the accommodation facility, what should be the amenities are there. All these standards are also given related to the equipments that may be cradles or cots, beds, mattresses, cotton sheets, rubber sheets, blankets, pillow with covers. Then related to the staff, related to the working hours, medical attentions, all these things should be also explained in these things. Then Form A is related to the recording the result of medical examinations of children attending the crèches. So if the crèches are available, obviously the children are there, and for that purpose, the medical examination is also there for these children. So we have to record all these things. Form for recording particulars of children attending the crèches. So this is all about the contract labor rule 1971. So thank you for patient listening.